Me.
You.
Hi, welcome to Comic Talk. I'm Joshua.
And I knew Suicide Squad was going to suck. I just knew it.
Of course it did.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I told you, probably. I don't remember if I told them or not. I told you.
Yeah. We knew it was going to suck. Well, we were pretty sure. I was pretty sure. It was David Ayers.
Well, I mean, I had hope for it until they said that they were going to reshoot everything to try to make it more like Deadpool.
Yeah. This is Comic Talk, not shitty comic book movie talk. So, this is our weekly pull list review. We're going to talk about this week's comics that we read, and we've got a bunch of them. This is August 3rd. So, go. Thing, do. Alright, so this week we have a whole bunch of titles to talk about. I guess that's probably why we only had like 3 last week. We got them all this week. So we got Superman number 4, Batman number 4, Moon Knight number 5, Daredevil number 1 annual. Wait, number 1 annual? Why? They just can't figure out what they want to do with this numbering, can they? Doctor Strange number 10, Sheriff of Babylon number 9. Yes. And Paper Girls number 8. Alright, so let's start on the DC side of things. This is kind of what everybody's talking about, so that's where we've been starting. This is Superman number 4 by, Tomasi Gleason Gray and Khalees.
It's really odd that this doesn't have a different artist this time, because the art feels completely different.
The art is like Crazy Town.
Yeah.
It is crazy sauce art. I liked the art.
I liked it too, but it was distinctly more. I mean, we talked about how it was vaguely Silver Age 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then now this is like straight fucking that.
Yeah. It's crazy sauce, dude. This art is nuts. Yeah. Okay.
So plot-wise, they're fighting the Eradicator dude, and there's a rock with some kryptonite in it, and
like Kryptonian spirits or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This story is really weird all of a sudden.
Yeah, I thought it was stupid.
I did too.
Just being honest.
Yeah, it was really dumb.
It felt like ill-conceived, maybe. Or maybe they had a good idea and just the execution was bad, but something along the way just seemed to kind of not work out.
Yeah, I also feel like the artist, maybe part of it was he read that script and was like, what the fuck? Like, how about this? And just, blah, like, let's make it all crazy, you know? Because it's already so bizarre.
Yeah.
Really kind of high concept Superman-y, but
it's like childish high
but
concept.
not pulled off well,
yeah.
You know?
It just comes off in like the 90s books kind of way, where they're just like making shit up as they go along, and that's what it feels like.
Yeah, every panel they came up with as like that panel.
Yeah. Like
there's no script, there was no outline, it's just, now what? Now there's a rock in a bar, and
yeah.
Now they're there, and now there's ghosts, you know? Really bizarre. I don't know what the hell's going on here. The art's super cool though. I felt like the art redeemed it for me. I liked it enough just looking at the art, but not enough that I would tell somebody like, oh, you gotta check out Superman. But
yeah, I think I'm really on the fence. I read this one first, so I was really trying to pay attention to the story and what was going on. So that was just so frustrating that I appreciated the art while it was happening and whatnot, but it's just so fucking weird that I don't know if I could commit to something like this.
Yeah, it's pretty strange. I've liked it up to here.
The last issue I don't think you were super happy with.
Yeah, it was okay. So we'll see, man. I don't know. I'm losing my faith in a lot of this Rebirth stuff pretty fast.
Yeah.
But there's another like a round of stuff. I think they really held off. Can we talk about this for a moment, even though we got like 7 titles? I think they held off all of the more interesting, headier kind of concepts and really launched the Rebirth with the really simplistic crap that like your average person who goes into like a chain store might see and buy, you know, thinking, well, are the people looking for that cooler kind of stuff will know to look for it later.
Right.
It seems like
this
it to
is
me.
just filling out like the grocery store shelves and
right,
shit,
right, yeah. This feels like it belongs on a grocery store shelf. So let's move on and let's talk about Batman number 4. 'Cause as much as I love Tom King's work, I kind of feel like this is starting to fill the same kind of thing. This is King, Finch, Hope, Banning, and Bel Air. This is by far my least favorite Tom King thing I've read by a huge margin. All 4 of these. The third one was a little better, but this is... I'll just say right off the top that I don't care about this at all.
I didn't have a completely opposite impression of that. I mean, I felt it was a little bit weak, but some of the more like horror-y kind of elements I appreciated.
Sure.
And it seems like it's definitely darker than Snyder was, and it doesn't seem like he has the same fear of being dark that Snyder does.
Sure, that's fair. I mean, there was some things that I thought were okay here, but mostly I just felt like it was all too kind of straightforward and obvious. It's exactly kind of what I would expect Tom King to do if he had to report to the executives at DC on every page that he submits, right?
Sure.
It doesn't feel interesting at all to me. It feels like a Batman book that's just slightly better than like a 5 out of 10 because Tom King is writing the dialogue, and that's it for me, really.
Yeah, it's really disappointing because, I mean, when you say Tom King on Batman, it's like, how could that not be amazing?
Right.
They found a way.
Well, this is exactly in one of our previous episodes when we were talking about the upcoming Rebirth. I feel like this is what's happening is exactly what we were afraid of. We said would happen, which is, you know, you take Tom King off of the like B and C titles where he can just run wild, do whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. You put him on Batman and you make him answer to a bunch of editors, and all of the life and Tom Kinginess gets ripped out of it, and what you're just left with something that has like a Tom King candy shell.
Right, and yeah, I mean, I can't even say that this is... I mean, his voice comes through so much less on this than all the other things that I have to believe that that's the case.
Right.
Because there's no other way around it. He wouldn't just choose to write less like Tom King because he's doing Batman now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. As far as Rebirth is concerned, what are we reading? Batman, Action Comics, and Superman?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we dropped Flash.
Already dropped Flash. As far as I'm concerned, I don't need to read any of this stuff. That's where I'm at this point. Yeah. So we'll have to discuss it at the end of the month, but at this point I am...
Well, that's like now, and we have to do a July review.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll do that soon, but I think you might be seeing us just give up on these. I don't know, you might want to keep doing Batman. I know you kind of have a thing for Batman, and it's Tom King, but fuck, I just don't care.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Next.
Moon Knight number 5. This is a whole list of guys. Lemire, Smallwood, Stokoe, Francavilla, Torres, Belair, and Garland.
This one's fucking crazy.
It's awesome.
Like, most of them have been fucking crazy. Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even want to, like, start going into the plot and stuff because there are so many twists and everything that if I really did it justice with the plot summary, I would spoil the whole fucking thing.
Right. All the artists on here, they brought in other artists to showcase different aspects of Moon Knight and Mark Spector and whatnot.
Contrast each other and whatnot.
Awesome idea. As much as I love what Smallwood's doing on here, having those other people come in and do some stuff was a really cool idea.
Yeah, like every other page you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, what the hell is this?
Right,
yeah, totally different feel to it. Mm-hmm. Cool stuff.
And the writing even mirrored that. Which, awesome. Good job, Jeff Lemire.
Yeah, this is awesome stuff.
Why can't you do this at fucking Valiant, bro?
Right. Yeah. It seems like this would be perfect for that stuff, but I guess it's not perfect for that stuff based on what we've read.
Sure. Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, this is just kind of mind-trippy and weird, and you never quite know what's happening. It does a really great job of kind of putting you in his headspace by just really, smacking you across the back of the head every couple pages.
Jerking you around and all this. Yeah. I mean, I'm still unsure about a lot of the stuff that I read,
Right.
I paid pretty close attention to this one.
Right, yeah. And it is one of those stories that warrants close reading, which is really cool about it. I spent more time on this one than anything I read this week.
It almost makes me think of like Arkham Asylum or something. Have you read Arkham Asylum?
I've tried to read Arkham Asylum.
You have? You don't really like it?
Not really.
Well, this kind of reminds me of that in that way. It's that it jerks you around quite a bit and the art's like all crazy and shit, but that's like part of it.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I can totally see that.
Maybe like William S. Burroughs would be like another example of...
Cool stuff, definitely. I like this one a lot, and I don't want to talk about it that much because I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
But it's a hit.
But it's really good, and I mean, what else can you say when something's this cool? Like, but it's straightforward too.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just what it does is good and what it does is kind of obvious though.
Sure.
And
that last point about this, I'm pretty sure this is the end of like the first arc.
Right, 5 of 5, yeah.
So I'm curious to see where it goes after this.
Yeah, definitely.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I hope it takes it in this completely different direction, and now we're going to just start questioning what is real about this one now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my hope.
And what in the last arc actually happened.
Right.
Is the other thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not a Dorothy situation. Like, that would be kind of a bummer. Yeah. Like Alice in Wonderland, Dorothy.
Clicks his heels and goes home, and then he's just Moon Knight. And,
right. Or, it was a dream, Yeah. I don't think Lemire's doing that to us. I think it's going to be a lot weirder
Better
than that.
not.
Yeah, don't make it a dream. That's going to be bullshit. Let's talk about the Daredevil #1 annual. We got the Scotty Young variant because we love Scotty Young.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, #1 annual. What?
They always do that. The annuals are numbered different.
Why isn't it like 2016 annual? Is it always the #1 annual? Doesn't make sense to me.
Since they rebooted and had a new #1, it's the first annual to come out.
Right, I guess so. It's so stupid. Okay, so...
This one follows Echo really more than Matt. And there's a song that's a monster. Mm-hmm. It's taking over everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the art in this.
It's so good.
Really great art.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool, like sketchy, scratchy, half kind of completed looking stuff. I just love that style.
Swirls of color and everything. Yeah. It's almost like Starry Night, maybe. Kind of like when you look in the sky and there's all those like weird swirls and shit happening.
Right.
That's me that.
It's really cool. The paneling work is really neat as well in a bunch of places. But the story here is just moronic. I really could not get behind it at all.
Yeah. The
dialogue itself isn't bad, but just the conceits of like the plot here, being someone who's I assume like as a musician it probably bothers me a lot more than a normal person, but the noise canceling playing the song, how does playing that song do that? And then
it has to do with phase cancellation.
Right, but okay, so she's playing the song, right? First, how does playing the song make a person turn into that thing? But more importantly...
so I can get with you on that. Like, if you take, the same 12 notes that we've used for the last, 600 years or more and just put them in the specific order, then it becomes this powerful mind-controlling...
That turns you into, a crazy, sonic monster thing. Yeah. It's super weird. But, okay, no, here's the thing. Okay, so she's playing the song, and they're reversing it to do the noise cancellation. It would have to be lined up exactly with how the song's playing, but nobody's listening to the song.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
So how the fuck did they get it lined up perfectly to noise cancel it when it's this complicated fucking song? It's the most beautiful song ever. It doesn't make... any goddamn sense.
And they couldn't hear it, because if they did hear it, then they would turn into
the Daredevil thing, right? Yeah. So, and have you ever just trying for these videos to match up the audio to the video cue is a nightmare sometimes.
Yeah, it's pain in the ass.
Right? It requires a lot of work. So how did they just do it magically? It's stupid. Okay.
It's because it's comic. It's really the answer.
Yeah, but it was just such a dumb premise.
Yeah.
That I just couldn't, the whole thing was almost ruined for me just simply for that fact alone. So there's that.
This one I did enjoy the art enough that I could kind of overlook the cheesiness of the plot, though.
Yeah. Looking back at this, the only other thing is... there's a whole nother story in here that I didn't even read.
Oh, you didn't read that?
I didn't even know it was here because the goddamn ads and the end. Mm-hmm. The end and then a bunch of ads.
4 pages.
So I just figured this was a bunch of bullshit ads and just closed it up. So there's a backup story that I have nothing to say about.
It's not that good.
Okay.
And the guy wrote a whole thing about how I used to write Daredevil and now I'm coming back to it. And it's well, I'm glad you fucking left, bro.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
Yeah. So this one was middling for me. The dialogue was okay throughout. There were a lot of problems. I also had a problem with, so he's got the headphones on so he can't hear the music, right? So he's blind and he can't hear. So how's he flipping and jumping through the air and going through doors and having conversations? It doesn't make any the whole thing. It's it doesn't make any sense. How is he fighting things? If he's blind and deaf, then shouldn't he just be standing a
legitimate
blind person? I guess. Was he fighting with scent? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get behind this one, man. I love the art, though. It looks really cool.
Yeah. Luckily, it's an annual, so this isn't
right.
going to be in continuity.
Right, it's just a one-off thing. Yeah. Doctor Strange number 10. This is Aaron Bacallo and Townsend still.
Mm-hmm. Is the last in like this 10-issue arc that they've been doing. Mm-hmm. And everything just kind of wraps up. I mean, not neat and tidy by any stretch of the imagination, but the arc is over. Right,
which I started out loving this, and I haven't disliked any of the issues, but as we've dragged on, it's like, come on. And so I'm glad that we're finally done with it. I
would agree with that.
They did a reasonable ending, but it doesn't really feel like we needed any of the other stuff that happened between...
Like the last 2 issues or so?
The last, 5 issues, really.
I'd say maybe 2 or 3.
You know,
sure.
He could have just stayed there and went down to the basement in the first place and done this, is what I'm saying. All of the, searching and all this that's dragged out the story for so long wasn't really necessary. It didn't really add anything, I don't feel like.
It's true.
So it kind of invalidates some of the issues, or feels like I wasted some time reading things that I didn't need to, that weren't adding to the story. It could have been compressed.
Yeah, this would probably be better as like a 6-issue series, 6-issue story arc. And this one as a whole felt pretty stereotypically conclusive. I mean, again, it doesn't really add anything to the story. It's just like, okay, this thing happens that you assumed was going to happen, and then, he wins.
Right.
So, but I mean, that's generally how the last issue of a story arc goes. It's never that impressive.
Yeah, so. It just kind of fizzles for me. It wasn't bad by any means, and the story as a whole was relatively entertaining, but
sure.
I didn't love this ending. I mostly love this issue just because now
the artwork.
Well, the artwork's awesome, but I was going to say now this is finished and we can move on and maybe get a new idea that we don't languish on for nearly a year,
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about the arcs. The art is spectacular as always, I think.
I mean, what can we say about it that we haven't already? I mean, it's crazy mixed media, crazy town.
Yeah, it's pretty wild looking.
All over the place.
Yeah. All the characters are expressive and exciting looking. The paneling's pretty simple, which is kind of surprising, looking at it.
But a lot of times, right here's a good example. Like, the outline of the panel, changes colors and stuff like that. Which is, it's not a huge thing, but it's something I don't see a lot.
Attention to detail. Yeah. And there's a lot of interesting little overlaps over panels and things that give it a lot of character, but it's just not amazing, but yeah, it looks pretty great still.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got 2 more. Let's jump over to Vertigo, back to Tom King. King and Gerads or Jared's or Gerads or Gerads or Gerods, Gerads, Geros.
Oh, come on, dude.
Number 9.
So the terrorist, Abu Rahim, comes around.
Yeah.
And then we learn some inside information about some of the U.S. people that are...
Right.
Yeah.
Every time he introduces a new character in here, they feel so distinct and immediately recognizable. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Like the kind of overweight, to me, like Southern politician kind of guy that shows up at first.
Yeah.
I love him.
Fucking orange polo.
Yeah, I immediately know who this guy is. I feel like I've met this guy
a million times.
And he does such a great job of just getting that character to come through just immediately.
Mm-hmm. And then the nervous guy later that killed Nasir's wife.
Right, yeah. And also like the kind of IT sort of dude. Like just everybody involved here is so fucking cool, He just continues to absolutely destroy like characterizations and dialogue in this. It's what carries this whole thing.
Plot-wise, I would say this is not the strongest issue.
No.
But that's just plot-wise. I mean, how much does that really count in the end? Like, we get really good character development and new characters.
Yeah, this is all character here.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really good at that. So, I mean, I don't even think necessarily the fact that the plot didn't move quite so far as it has in some issues is necessarily a bad thing.
I don't think so at all.
Yeah.
Like, I like... This is a world with characters that I'm completely comfortable just sitting with and letting them breathe and talk to each other. It's great, Is this... How much longer does this go?
I don't think it's a limited series.
Man, I hope not, because it's
Vision's a
I'm enjoying
limited
this.
series. I don't think this one is.
I'm enjoying this so much. This is such a great series. We do have an interesting ending. Nasir. I love Nasir so much, and we get him just sort of being badass through most of this, just in the discussions that he's having. And we get this crazy ending where the guy shows up, and kind of a cliffhanger of sorts, like as much of a cliffhanger as you can get, and something that's mostly just a sit around and talk kind of
We get
issue,
some pretty strong cliffhangers in this book.
But this particular issue, as little as happens, and then at the end to sort of get this big jump forward is interesting, right? Mm-hmm. All the plot movement happens in the last panel almost.
Yeah, pretty much. Except for Christopher talking to the dude and figuring out, a
little bit there.
Yeah. He gets his hand on his gun. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of a cliffhanger. Because we didn't come back to that scene.
Yeah, that's true. We never did come back to that, and that could be pretty intense.
Yeah.
All in all, there's just so much tension in this book. It's always there, and this one has it even more, I think, than usual. This is all just ratcheting tension up for an entire issue.
Entire series.
It just keeps ratcheting up.
Yeah.
And how about the art? I thought it was incredible as always.
Yeah, it's great. It's perfect for the book.
Yeah, it does. It does rely a lot on some cheap copy paste paneling.
Sure.
He's been doing this a lot, and I'm still not sure if it's to set a mood or if it's just lazy, or maybe it's a great mix of both. Hey, I can do this to set the mood, and I don't have to redraw the panel. I can,
Yeah, which I think the coloring does a good enough job differentiating things and setting moods that he wouldn't necessarily have to do that. So it does come off a little bit lazy to me. But,
yeah.
What are you going to do?
It kind of works for the book, though. I never feel lame, but I do notice it.
Yeah.
I can open almost any page and see it.
Bam, bam, bam,
right.
bam, bam.
Right. Same image over and over and over, and the same image, same image, same image. This image here of him sitting gets used 8 times.
Yeah.
So a little bit weird, but it never draws me out of it more than just to go huh. And that's about all it gets out of me. It doesn't ruin it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, one more. Let's talk about Paper Girls number 8. This is Vaughn, Chang, Wilson, and Fletcher.
They continue their quest to try to figure out what the hell's going on. The character's dealing with the fact that she apparently dies in a couple of years after the time that they left, basically. And there's some crazy town shit that happens. We say this a lot, but I feel like in the next issue we're actually going to get a big piece of something.
Yeah, he just keeps piecemealing it out to us. This also feels a lot like Sheriff of Babylon, where a lot of this was not much moving forward plot-wise, but a lot of character development and just kind of trying to help develop how these people interact with each other and get you what feels ready for something.
Yeah, Act 2.
Right. Sort of unrelated, but kind of related. This reminds me in a lot of ways of Stranger Things on Netflix. Have you watched that yet?
No, everybody's watching it. I haven't.
Check it out. It has a similar feel. The whole time I was watching Stranger Things, I'm thinking, man, this feels kind of like Paper Girls, but instead of time travelingness, it's horror dimension-y kind of thing. But for some reason they have a similar vibe to me.
Interesting.
Yeah, but back to Paper Girls. I just thought that.
Yeah, sure.
I thought it was so strongly while I was watching that show that I had to bring it up since we just happened to be reading this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if it paralleled Twilight, I would have brought it up. So.
Right. Well, it does in a way. In
what way?
Female lead. I don't know.
Okay.
Do you think we're getting? Do you think we're getting bamboozled here?
You're going to use that word for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
With this series, because we keep saying we're going to get it, we're going to learn something.
Okay, but imagine reading why The Last Man issued issue.
Right. Sure. And I think we are learning things. I think that's what's so amazing about this series is we know a whole lot more than we did 8 issues ago.
We just have different questions now.
Right, and we're learning all these things without pulling the curtain back completely.
Right.
And it's so intermingled into the story as we go that it doesn't feel like plot point reveal.
Yeah.
You know, there's no spotlight shining at things to say, here's the next thing you need to know. Like, you just have to kind of mine it yourself.
Right.
Right, which I think speaks a lot to Brian K. Vaughan's experience at writing these longer, more
epic fucking series.
Epic series, yeah. He's doing a really great job, I think, of peppering it. But yeah, it is a little bit frustrating. You know?
Yeah, especially reading it month to month like this. But I mean, this is his strongest. This is where he's the strongest. Like, we read We Stand on Guard, which is a short series, and it was not comparable, to any of his like longer form shit. I mean, you could tell it just didn't feel like a Brian K. Vaughan book. This feels like a Brian K. Vaughan book. Right.
And I definitely think I also prefer him without the shackles of continuity or anything like that as well. I mean, I love Runaways, but it even doesn't feel like what I really think of when I think of Brian K. Vaughan, which is, like this and Machina, with Deus Ex Machina. No.
Yeah, Ex Machina. Ex Machina.
Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Right, and Why the Last Man, I feel like this... Saga, yeah, I feel like this really falls into that pantheon that he's really going to be remembered for. Runaways is like his best, like, mainstream work.
Yeah,
but
big two,
like,
whatever.
Yeah, big two kind of thing. But this is really... I'm starting to really be convinced that this is going to be like a really incredible series.
Yeah. If it was nominated for an Eisner next year, I would totally agree.
Right, next year. Yeah, exactly. Still awesome paper quality, still super cool art. I love the way this looks. I love
the way it feels.
Yeah, everything about holding this one. You would actually... I love digital. I love reading on my freaking Galaxy Tab Pro. It's like 12 inches. It's the same size as a comic.
I hate it.
I fucking love it. Yeah. It's my preferred way to read, actually. But this series is better on paper, just because the paper is so thick and nice, and the way it looks on paper, like actually printed and feels, is just really great.
It's odd when little things like that are so removed from what you're actually dealing with have so much to do with it. It's like really nice, or food that's like plated really well.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't change the way it tastes.
But it
does. It changes the way you perceive it.
Right.
So that's what is taste if not perception.
Right. Exactly. Talking about paper, did you hear about this Marvel thing?
What Marvel thing?
They're improving their paper quality.
Really?
That was like their big one of their big announcements at whatever NerdCon is happening.
Right now. San Diego, I think.
Sure.
Like yeah.
Cosplay Con 2016. Harley Quinn Con, yeah. They're improving their paper quality because they've had a lot of complaints about the bad paper that they use. So
I think the paper they use is fine, but it's cool they're using better paper.
Right? Yeah. I've never had an issue with Marvel paper. I never thought anything about it. So that's cool. I'm pretty excited to see what they start using.
I mean, it's better than the shit they were using in the 80s and most of the 90s. So
right.
Whatever, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So I guess that's it for us now.
Yeah.
Did all 7, and it's only been like
30 minutes.
Reaching 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Next week we are going to talk about Marvel, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about diversity and all of the stuff that a lot of people hate and other people think is cool. Most people hate it and complain about it on the internet.
Yeah.
It seems like all these things, like what we do, is people bitching about it, especially like 2 white dudes.
Right. Or 1 white dude.
Yeah,
with a goofy fucking hat.
Right. Any number of white dudes usually talking about this tend to say that it's garbage or that it's ruining comics or whatever. So we're going to tackle it and talk about it. I think we have a different perspective.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah, so
You just ruined the whole fucking thing. They have no reason to watch it now.
I don't think so. I think they could, by now, I would hope that they would know we would have a different perspective than that.
Sure.
I think we like to find some middle ground on anything we talk about, really, right?
We always take a side, it feels like.
Maybe, but our side is usually that all of
The right one.
All of the sides are sort of ridiculous, right? Because
Sure.
I think the SJW crowd is ridiculous. The Tumblristas that think everything should be like black gay women, right? And I also think that, you know, all the obnoxious white dudes that think feminism is ruining the world are idiots too. So
Yeah.
we take a strong stance in the middle, I think. So check it out. Check it out. Please do. I'm happy with it.
Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, podcast, YouTube.
Other stuff too. Just look, like if you're on YouTube, look down there. There's a bunch of stuff we don't need to say at all.
I like saying it all.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to help. Bye.
Bye!